Say it's from that storm in Mexico. Albino.
At least you two have those snuggly warm parkas.
Yeah, Kimberly, I can see you've got a cold front.
Shoot.
I only have time to probably listen to one person get murdered today on these podcasts. Get to it. Made a couple pieces to tie the bed front and the sides with this bed brace piece, because I actually want to use that bolt hole and build a mount that comes up to it. But I needed a way, obviously this was so far gone, it needs a lot of work. But I wanted to tie the bed into this piece. So next, I gotta make some bed mounts that come up from the frame. Without the music, the heaters in the background sound like the wildebeest herd from The Lion King. Sorry about that. Started on some bed mounts out of some scrap metal I had. As you can see, they have countersunk screw holes in them. They were from an old pallet, but it's pretty thick metal, so should work out pretty good. And they are free.
I do a jig. Drill, baby, drill.
Got my bed mounts done. Nice and simple. And some of you might be asking why I welded a nut on the inside when I have a nutsert tool. Well, there's a good explanation behind that, and that's that I actually forgot. That would have made sense, but I completely forgot about it. So there we go. Nice and simple. Alright, so I dug through my collection of miscellaneous body mounts and I couldn't really find anything I liked to make this back bed mount, but I had this piece of crap that I tried to use to make a camping rig on my trailer. It didn't work out so well, so I ended up cutting another one of those down and using it. And this under here was a mount I had originally put a 48 Chevy pickup on an S10 frame, and then I changed the mounts around. Some of you with the eagle eyes might notice that thing in the background. Maybe I'll work on that thing someday. But anyway, I whipped those up real quick. Nothing too wild, nothing too exciting. I might end up running a brace from here up at some point to kind of tie that in. Because what I'm afraid now is, I'm afraid if I cut this brace loose, that it's just going to turn into a giant V. And I'll figure out something when I put a bed floor in it. It'll tie it all together. But for now, I think running a piece up and tying that in would probably be pretty smart. But this is the first time that this thing really hasn't had any jack stands or anything holding the bed up, so I'm digging it. Making these bed mounts was one of those things, like, it's not difficult to do. It's just I always had funner things I wanted to work on. But now that those are out of the way, maybe I can start tackling some other more exciting stuff. Like this disaster. I don't know. I like it. Well, I got spoiled. I think I had 2 months where I didn't have to put the old Shitquoia in the garage and work on it. Things overheat, and I think the thermostat's sticking. Parts store, or in my case, go to the mailbox. Get the box out of there. I order my stuff from Rock Auto. You're gonna need a drain pan. Got a goth teenager, go to their room and get something sharp that you can cut something with. All right, got a new seal and a thermostat. That's the thermostat housing. You're gonna wanna take these 3 bolts out right here. There's one down below, don't forget that one. That's what size it is, 12 millimeter. It's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, so you're gonna wanna loosen those bad boys up. Next, we're gonna pinch that clamp and slide it back to remove that hose. Careful, it's going to get messy. This is where your drain pan should come in handy. Whoa! That makes accessing that lower nut much easier. I used the deep socket 12 for this one. You can do the same thing for the other 2 nuts. Oh, there they are. All 3 of them are off. Now it's time to remove the thermostat housing. You might have to wrap on it with something or give it a little tug. There we go. Now we can see the thermostat. Try taking it out, but you're probably going to have to give it a couple good tugs. There we go. Got it out. It's very nasty. Gross. Scrape it nice and clean. Look at that. Get all that crust off there. We don't want to stick our stuff in anything with crust all over the opening. Get that hole nice and clean. Clean off the thermostat housing with whatever you got. I used a wire brush. Let's put the thermostat gasket on the actual thermostat. You notice that little brass thing? That needs to be at the top. That helps with the air bubbles. The very highest point is where you want that little brass piece. Look at that. This fits perfect. We're going to put the housing back on, then we're going to put the 3 nuts back on. Beautiful. Now this is, I believe, 14 foot-pounds of torque, but if I'm being perfectly honest, I just snug them up. If you're a pro though, you're going to want to use a torque wrench and tighten it to 14 foot-pounds. I could have made little click noises. There you go, got the hose back on. Now we're going to fill it back up with antifreeze. I'm using the pink stuff. It's all pink on the inside. Going to let it run and get up to temperature. Make sure nothing is leaking. Turn the heat on the inside. Make sure the heat's working. Both hoses should be warm if the thermostat's operating correctly. And then you'll know everything's circulating. And look at that. Nothing's leaking. If you did it right, you shouldn't have any coolant in your pan. It should all be on the floor. As I'm sitting in the car doing some editing, I realize how annoying the heaters are in the background, but it's too cold not to have them on, and I tried to camouflage some of it with the music, so hopefully you guys don't get too annoyed with the music, but it is what it is. It's been freaking cold. Stoked on my progress on the old 64 F100 though, so I'm gonna keep working on it. Put some miles on it this year. And thanks for watching, and go work on your shit. Get out in the garage and don't litter.